Do you guys consider Avatar to be an anime?
It doesn't matter what you think.
Today is gonna be an Avatar Aang character analysis because it's been too long since we did a character analysis and people have forgotten about Aang. Before we move on, hit that subscribe button and leave a like. Aang was born in the Southern Air Temple, and at a very young age, he was a prodigy in airbending. He was really good with everybody around the temple, but particularly close to Monkiatsu, who is basically his father figure while he was a child. Upon finding out that he was the Avatar, he became restricted as a child and wasn't even allowed to play. And then he found out that he was going to be taken away from Monkiatsu. And because he didn't want that, Aang ran away at the age of 12 as a child and eventually fell into ice and then appeared 100 years later when Katara and Sokka found him. And by that time, there was already a big war that had happened because of the absence of the Avatar. And when he woke up to his clan killed, massacred by the Fire Nation, and he blamed himself for the war and everything bad that was going on in the world at that time, even though it wasn't his fault. He was just a child. Aang is, at the beginning of the show, is basically, he was 12 years old, so he was basically a kid. He behaved as you expected a kid to behave. He loved to play, he loved to make jokes, all those things that kids do.
Stay flaming. Hotman. Hotman. Hotman.
But because of the situation of the world at that time and the responsibilities on his head, he was forced to grow up really fast. As an air nomad, Aang was a pacifist, never really wanted to fight. And it could be seen even when he was very young, in his decisions. For example, when he was training and he was learning firebending and he mistakenly hurt Katara, he decided to stop firebending, or unconsciously decided to stop firebending and blocked himself off that, just because he didn't want to hurt the people he loved with such a destructive power. Over the time, he started developing good judgment as he went on. We saw examples of this when he was learning the Avatar state. He couldn't choose power over Katara and his loved ones. He also was really conflicted during the end of the series. Everybody else around him was saying he needed to kill the Fire Lord because of the atrocities that he had committed in the past. But Aang couldn't get himself to do that. He was so conflicted about killing someone, even though Ozai did deserve it. He decided not to do it. He went against went on a spiritual journey and found out and came to the best conclusion that he could come to, which was taking away his bending. Aang is definitely a very good MC, a very interesting character. You don't want to mess with his loved ones. I mean, just look at how he behaved when they kidnapped Allah. That was the worst we've seen Aang in terms of like legit anger. That was the worst we've seen from Aang. And even at that time, he got Appa back. He got back to the kid playful self that we knew Aang to be, innovative when he was fighting and all those things. If you look at Aang's achievements, at a very young age, he was the youngest air master, basically had a PhD in airbending before he even knew he was an avatar. Created a whole technique. The air sphere that you ride on is Aang's technique. He was the one that made that. He mastered all the elements in under a year. By the time he ran away from his temple, he only knew airbending, and then he fell into ice and woke up during the war. And by the end of the series, which was a year later, he had mastered every technique at the age of 12, making him, I think, the youngest avatar to master all the elements, and the fastest to master all the elements. I mean, you could say he was forced to because of war, but he still did. He also made a new form of bending, created energy bending, being able to take away somebody's bending with his mind. And I think his greatest achievement in the whole entirety of the season was defeating the Fire Lord Ozai, who was the strongest firebender in the history of the show. In Sozan's comments, when firebenders are at their most powerful, Aang went into that avatar state and whooped the hell out of Ozai, and at the end, didn't even kill him, decided to, you know what, I'm going to take his bending and lock him up in prison. Then further down the line in Aang's life, he managed to start restoring the Air Temple or the Air Clan and the creation of the Republic City where every and all bending come together to live, and then that established Korra. In conclusion, Aang is an awesome character and people should not sleep on him. People tend to forget all the things that he's been through. Imagine yourself being 12 and being forced to save the world, having the world in your back, ending 100-year war in 1 year. I mean, I feel like he might have definitely been the best avatar, in my opinion, in the whole show, because of how young he was when he had to do what he did, and how most of his decisions ended up going well. Being that young and being able to make those decisions, even though he made a few mistakes, but none of the mistakes he made were as drastic as Korra, and also managed to keep away his selfish desires. I mean, he's a monk, but still, to keep away his selfish desires for the betterment of the whole world. At the end of the day, Aang is just one great MC and great avatar. It's been the Bombs with Expensive Taste. Don't forget to leave a comment, tell me who you prefer, Aang, or who's your favorite avatar, or what's your best moment from Aang. Bombs out.